Well, this was not a video that I was expecting to make this year. I think we all knew that there would one day be a day like this, but there's a difference between knowing that it's going to happen and feeling that it's inevitable, and actually seeing the headline from an official source, taking in that information with your eyes, and then trying to accept it and make sense of it with your brain. Sony recently announced that physical disc production will end in January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles, meaning they're going to commit to a full digital future when it comes to their next console and beyond. In the very same breath, they announced that they're also going to shut down the stores for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. This time next year, you won't be able to buy digital games and DLC for these consoles. And all of this came right off the heels of the announcement that it will be removing 550 movies and TV series from the PlayStation Store in the UK. So if there's anything you want to watch that you haven't gotten to yet and you consume most of this media through your PlayStation, you have until September. Good luck. And on this channel, I really do try to just share the good things that I find in gaming because there is so much good going on, but I also choose to focus on that because I know that there's so much bad that's being thrown at us every single day. I mean, just from the past couple of weeks, you've learned about all of this, you learned about how Xbox is supposedly going to shut down at least 5 studios, you saw the price announcement for the Steam machine, which was a lot higher than people were hoping, and trying to upgrade your PC or buy a new one is getting harder and harder because the cost of memory is going up astronomically due to that little thing called AI. And apparently it's not just AI's fault because there's also a giant lawsuit being levied right now against all of these major memory makers out there like Samsung and Hynix and Micron, because apparently they were colluding together to restrict access to these products, which then drove up the price. And in the midst of all of this, it feels like Nintendo is the one almost innocent party here, but then you have to rewind a couple of months and remember how upset many people were with the initial price of the Switch 2, the whole game keycard controversy, and just like these other consoles, the Switch 2 is going up in price, but at least Nintendo was kind enough to give you a little bit of a notice. But the funny thing is Nintendo's kind of doing that whole Luigi doing nothing and winning meme that you saw in Smash Bros. Right now, where they're not necessarily doing anything that's all that great, but when you compare them to everything else that's going on right now, they actually look pretty good. And I do have to say that I respect them, at least for now, sticking to physical production, considering that their cartridges are a lot more expensive to produce than those discs that Sony is apparently losing their mind over. The truth is here that disc production is not too expensive. The truth is that it's not consumer preference to buy digital only. There were no surveys that Sony conducted where fans overwhelmingly stated, yes, I would love to have a digital only future. I hate owning things. That never happened. The truth is that Sony has been slowly trying to condition its customers to go all in on digital. That's why the disc attachment to the PS5 was a thing. Sony is just making that first step and drawing that line in the sand, saying that this is how it's going to be. And the thing about all of this is it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a digital only gamer. This is bad. Right now, the precedent has been set and the rule is well established that when you buy something digitally, you don't own it. Unless you get it from a place like GOG, you don't own that game. You own a license to it that can technically be taken away at any moment. And a lot of people that say that physical collectors are just overreacting when they bring up this point don't realize that this stuff happens all the time. Sega loves to delist their games. You can go throughout history from like the Xbox 360 era forward, like Sega loves to delist their stuff. And even though I said earlier that Nintendo is being seen as kind of the good guy in this whole situation just because they're doing less bad things than the other game companies are, you may have missed this, but also this week, Nintendo quietly delisted Cruisin' Blast. And while that game wasn't developed by Nintendo, that Cruisin' name, that franchise is a franchise that Nintendo owns, and it's so weird to know in my head that Nintendo basically delisted a first-party title here. So while all this negativity is not really what I wanted to be talking about, I guess this did give me the push I needed to start talking about my preferences on physical versus digital. I've been wanting to make a video like that for a long time because I feel like I have sort of a nuanced perspective compared to a lot of like retro YouTubers. I don't even know if that's what I would be considered, but I do talk about a lot of retro games. And you guys have seen my collection before. I don't have a massive wall behind me of games. It would be cool if I did, but I'm just not that guy. guy. I have gone through physical collection sprees many times in my life. The biggest collection I think that I ever really amassed was a GameCube and Wii collection back in the day. This was right in the era where the GameCube prices were kind of low for a good while before everybody started realizing how awesome the GameCube was, and I picked up so many awesome titles. Unfortunately, when I moved to college, my parents actually sold or got rid of a lot of my games because I guess they thought that, since I didn't take them with me, I must not have cared for them anymore, or maybe I grew out of it or moved on. Obviously, that was not the case, and I was pretty upset when I found out about that. But nowadays, I do have a kind of different perspective. So a lot of my library is digital. I have soft modded pretty much all of my consoles, and a lot of times when I pick up a physical game, it's because that game means a lot to me. And so the games that I have in my collection are a lot more curated. In fact, I'm actually thinking about going to my local shop and getting rid of some of the ones that I don't really think fit into that curated mindset that I've tried to build for myself. And yeah, I'll be honest, a vast majority of the library that I have is digital. The difference is, and the reason why I think even someone like myself with a hybrid library can lament the fact that physical is dying, is that I own these games. Yeah, maybe through a rather morally ambiguous way, but I own a lot of games, and it's kind of sad when you think about the reality that we live in. I just saw a post today where someone was saying that piracy is really the only form of media preservation that exists in games right now, and while you might find it morally reprehensible, there is literally no other institution that will keep games alive in 25, 50 years time. And then the director of a historical video game preservation institution, who has dedicated his entire adult life to this case, agreed. Many of the powers that be that could make meaningful change choose not to. I'm sure you guys have seen initiatives like Stop Killing Games, and I love the spirit of that. And I hope that one day people wake up and these kinds of things are taken more seriously. But the truth is, right now, it's not. And so years ago, this was something I started doing back in 2022, I think. I started future-proofing my library. I curated the physical games that I really, really wanted, and I started building a digital library as well. And the funny thing about that is sometimes when I really fall in love with something that I've got on my hard drive, on my soft-modded console, I find myself picking up the disc afterwards, because then I have that physical memory that I can hold in my hand, that I can see on my shelf, and I can think about that time that I played this game with my friend or this other game with my brother, or just played it on my own but was blown away by a particular moment. And there's just something about our brains, the way that we've evolved over time, there's just something different about seeing something physically in front of you on the shelf that you can interact with versus looking at a JPEG on a screen, scrolling through like Netflix or whatever. And so despite this private digital library that I've built for myself, I'm still lamenting the fact that the biggest players in the industry are trying to move us towards a digital-only future, because even if you are a purely digital-only gamer, this is a bad future for you too, because things get delisted all the time. Things get taken away all the time. And so when the corporations are taking away our games, and then I turn my eyes to the other side of the field and I see all these people making ROM hacks, and I see people making ports and decompilations and their own remasters of classic games, and all of this was founded upon someone uploading a ROM somewhere. To me, that is the future. It's a really punk rock future. It's really anti-corporate. I love all of that stuff. And it's not just me trying to say hey, don't pay for your games, but it is me saying, hey, I think you've got to look out for yourself because these companies clearly don't care about you. But yeah, before I start digging too deep into that rabbit hole, I just want to encourage you to do what makes the most sense for you. There are so many people that are going to be priced out of consoles in the future. Like Jedi MB said, there's also going to be a lot of people who, because they don't have the ease of access to the internet, they're literally going to be blocked from being able to get games in the future. And so when it comes down to it, just like a lot of great things that have changed history, these grassroots efforts that I've been kind of hinting at, I think that's the way to go. Support the companies that do the right thing. Support the companies that are making the games that you want to play and that you want to have on your shelf. Support your local businesses. But man, future-proof your stuff. Preserve your setup. I've been taking my consoles apart. I've been cleaning them. I've been doing everything I can to keep them alive, because truthfully, I'm probably not going to get the next PlayStation console, especially with the future that they're painting right now. I don't even know what their strategy is. And like I said, I try to be a positive channel, so I just wanted to share some games of mine from my physical collection that mean a lot to me. These 3 games right here, Pac-Man World Repack, Doom 2016, and Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, are really important games to me because they were my brothers. If you've been following this channel for a long time, you know that I lost my brother around the time that my channel started, and I try to pay tribute to him where I can. These videos act as a good way to help keep his memory alive, and he was such an awesome person that, I'll never stop talking about him. Pac-Man World Repack was the last game that I bought him, and it was just something that I thought he would really, really like because he's always been a big 3D platformer fan. Doom 2016 he bought himself, as well as Hyrule Warriors. And when everything went down and I was, kind of looking through his things to see if there was anything that I would like to take with myself for the memories, I noticed that he didn't actually have the game. He must have lost the cartridge somewhere. He only had the case. And my buddy Tristan gave me the actual game, so now I've got the whole thing. And the thing is that if we were already in that dystopian digital future, I wouldn't have anything like this. I wouldn't be able to tell you guys this. I've looked through my brother's Switch to see some of the screenshots that he's taken and, some of the things that he thought were funny and stuff like that. And he's got some digital games like Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, I believe, but it's not the same. It's not the same of having these 3 and knowing that they were in his hands at one point. So even if I completely retire my Switch one day and decide I hate Nintendo or whatever, or I hate video games, that's not going to happen. But you know what I'm saying? I'm still going to have these with me, and those were his, and now that's with me. And again, I'm just kind of scratching the surface of some of the memories that I've had with games, but these are things that are never going to happen for a future generation. There will be a day where none of this stuff is going to matter. It's already kind of happening to the extent where there's a lot of kids that have never walked into a Blockbuster before because they're just not around like they were, And I know that a lot of people my age and older are going to resonate with what I said there. I don't even really need to elaborate on why that was a lot different than looking through Netflix, But yeah, sorry guys, I know this isn't my normal scripted stuff, and I'm sure I went a little off the rails here, a little unfocused, but I just needed to get this off of my chest, and I think it's important to talk about it the day that it happened. I'm not like a gaming news channel or anything like that, but I think this is a really important moment right here. This is the mark of a new era. In my opinion, this is the moment where Sony suddenly goes from how Xbox went from the 360 to the Xbox One, and everything seemed to change and over time get worse and worse. I personally don't think that this is going to bode well for Sony. I still think they're going to get a lot of sales because digital does sell. It's convenient, but I don't think it's going to be without strife, and I think this is just the beginning of anti-consumer practices. So all I'm saying is look out for yourself. These companies don't care about you, and the ones who are doing good things, reward them, but otherwise, look out for yourself. It's a lot less stressful if you're still here. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay humble.